Thank you. Thank you for being here today, sir. I want to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Introduce your business. Let us know what you're here. But basically, we're on Burn the Ship podcast. Appreciate you being here, setting the time for us. This is where we come and we kind of pick the brain of some entrepreneurs that we want to learn from and be more like in the future. So why don't you go ahead and give us a brief introduction?
So I appreciate you having me on the show. 100% honored, really. Tersh Blissett here. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I have two HVAC companies and a plumbing company and electrical company. And yeah, they do compete against each other. And it's a long story. I'll give a brief kind of backstory on the two different companies. And one I started in 2014 with a friend of mine, a business partner. And we were going after property management companies, low margin, high volume. So we did a lot of calls a day, and we had really low average ticket prices, but that was the clientele we wanted to serve, and we did a really good job at it. In 2017, I started a podcast, Service Business Mastery podcast, and with that podcast, a lot of people were asking me, how do you start a business? How do you start a service business? Because that's what it was kind of focused on, was HVAC companies, plumbing companies, that type of thing. And so long story short, 2018, I decided to start another business because we're kind of glutton for punishment there. And so I started, I began to start a company, and then a friend of mine decided he wanted to get out of the HVAC industry. And he said, well, why don't you purchase my company? And I was like, okay, that sounds good. I mean, at least I got a little bit to go on, and I'm not, going from ground zero. But then little did I know that there was so much about that company that had to be completely restructured that I would have been better off starting off at ground zero. So That's when I purchased a company called Icebound and then rebranded in 2020 because 2020 was the perfect year to just January 1, let's rebrand. And so rebuild a whole company. Hindsight's 2020. That's funny. I probably would have done it in 19, but I just wanted to start in January 1. But honestly, it's been great. Service Emperor is the new company. And with that company, we do lower volume, but higher margins. And so the two companies are technically in the same spot, and they're in Savannah together. But one goes after property management companies, and the other one goes after more targets the affluent individuals.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. So where did you get the plumbing and electrician? Did that happen before your second company, or?
Yeah. So TriStar that's the first company that we started together, and we had plumbing and electrical in that also. And so he has a construction company. And so, and when I say construction, it's more a remodel company. And so when someone flips a apartment or a house, when someone moves out and someone else is getting ready to move in, they just would call us. So it was like a one call, that's all type deal. And You would just come in and we would replace the carpet, paint the house, do any electrical repairs, do any plumbing repairs and HVAC stuff. And so I kind of came with that same concept over to Service Emperor. And so Service Emperor provides plumbing and electrical, but on a different level than TriStar does.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And what is your background? So how did you get into that? Hey, I want to start the service industry business. Where did that come from?
By mistake, actually. I went to school for...
By mistake then or by mistake now?
Both. So I went to school for engineering. I was very blessed and honored to be able to go through the GTREP program, Georgia Tech program through high school. Actually, I was able to do it in high school also, and where we got college credits while we were still in high school, and then went to school there. But then I was working at a chemical plant. I worked there for a little over a year, or maybe right at a year. And I just really was like, this is not my cup of tea. And I don't even know why. I just like, let's find something else. And a friend of mine was in the air conditioning industry, and he got me a job working for an AC company. And within 2 years, I was service manager, and then, ran that company for a couple of years. And it was right through the middle of the recession. And we were growing throughout the recession. So that was kind of an abnormal thing going on there. And so a lot of times I tell people that I'm more of like a wartime leader. So when things are going rough, that's whenever I really kick in.
Right.
And things were starting to get really smooth with where I was at whenever I was running that place. And so I kind of got bored, and it was just like, oh, okay, next, let's do something else. And I didn't really know that I wanted to start my own business, but I went to work for someone else for just a little bit. And I was like, if I'm going to rebuild this guy's whole company, why don't I just do it for myself? And then I did it, and I was like, oh, this is legit. I won't go back to doing anything else now.
Right. And how do you, so as far as your podcast goes, when you're kind of walking people into that, are these people that you're talking to? So like you're talking to other owners of other service industry companies about how they got in, or you're talking to people that are perspective about being in, or you're just kind of talking to yourself? What is the format?
So it's most of the people that we speak with, they are experts in their own industry. So we'll have a lot of marketing folks on, people who talk about HR. So the whole target with the show is to kind of answer the unasked questions, so that when you're going into business, or maybe you've been in business for 10 years and you kind of like, man, this is more difficult than I realized. I don't even know anything about HR. I'm really good at repairing air conditioning units. So like, if you're really good at fixing AC units, the natural step for most people is to think, okay, I'll be a really good boss. I'm going to be a really good business owner. And it's not the case. They're two completely different things. And so my whole goal with that show is to say, hey, look, think about this lawyer, this banker. So we've had people who, like Brandon Bolin with Live Oak Banks, they provide loans to people who are acquiring new companies, so acquisitions. And then a couple of my friends, Patrick Lang, who is a business broker, he came on like, this is what you need to be doing to set up for selling your business and then purchasing businesses and that kind of thing. So I do have other business owners on the show from time to time, but a lot of what I like to bring on is just guys and gals who can really answer questions that we didn't even realize that we were supposed to be asking.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it seems like you guys are providing a lot of value to your audience as well, though. And you're taking that. I am a thought leader in my industry. I kind of understand the problems of my industry, and I apply those to the people around me. And I want to provide value to those people. We do the exact same things. You know, like my company is a merchant services company. My company does electronic payments for all kinds of different businesses. And I have learned so much through my experience with these different business owners. And that's really why we wanted to highlight it. It was like over, I've been doing this like almost 5 years. So like, and we've been doing the podcast for like a year or something like that. So like I had basically 4 years of undocumented firsthand learning from like a fly on the wall view of a bunch of different industries. Yeah. Like I've been around that baker that could bake you a serious cupcake. Like if you hung around him long enough, you would be super fat, but can't run his business. You know what I mean? Like I've been around in all of those different areas. So that's really what we wanted to highlight, was like, we have all these people around us that are really awesome in their business. And not only are they really awesome in their business, they work really hard, and they have that thought process of like, I want to help other people kind of achieve this as well. So I wanted to ask you this is, as you're creating this content, as you're kind of servicing these people around you, you want to help people in there, you're kind of creating, not necessarily some competition, you're more creating community. You're creating a process where everybody goes to kind of lean on each other from one thing or another. So can you describe to me how that and like the networking aspect of things kind of plays into your business? Like how does your business grow? What do you what do you use to continue to grow your business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of the times I bring people on the show, and it's easy for me to play it off like, here, I'm answering these questions for you. I'm having this expert answer these questions for you, but they're answering questions for me at the same time. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm able to gain access to people I'd never be able to talk to. And I mean, like Mike McAllowitz, we've become friends. He wrote a book called Profit First, Fix This Next. He's written a bunch of great books, and I never would have been able to become friends with Mike without having the podcast. And so, it's been great for, my competition. A lot of people ask me this too, leading into your question about quote unquote competition, listening to the show and stuff, they're going to steal these ideas from you. The biggest thing is they have to implement it. So like you can listen to the show all you like, but a lot of people aren't implementing the things that they're hearing. And when they do implement it, it's great because I have competition who are on the same page as me. Like we're pricing out things the same. We're similar. And that way, whenever I go and I talk to someone about a $8,000 system, air conditioning system, and then someone else is talking a $5,000 air conditioning system, we have to talk the difference in the $3,000. Whereas if they're priced correctly, then we should both probably be around the $8,000 to $9,000 range. And then it's like, okay, now it's on our merits. Like we're selling based on our merits versus just the cost of the equipment. So honestly, if everybody, I would prefer that everybody did implement our pricing structures and our, all of that stuff.
Well, then you're not racing to the bottom.
Exactly. That's exactly the thing. And one of the big things is culture. We share a lot about culture on the show. And whenever I hire people, we have so many people who are constantly applying for a job. And we had this a few weeks ago where an applicant applied for a job. He applied for a service tech position and he wasn't qualified for a service tech. He knew he wasn't qualified for a service tech, but he came on the hiring event. So we have hiring events twice a week. They're Zoom hiring events, and nobody knows that it's a hiring event when they come on the show. So it's part of that is to see their reaction whenever they come on the screen. And so they get on the screen and there's 20 other people. Like, whoa, like I thought this was a one-on-one hiring thing, and now it's 20 people on here. And the thing about it is we'll have
it's like business field day.
It is, and we'll have HVAC. I mean, we'll have HVAC service techs, plumbing service techs, salespeople, inside sales, outside sales, CSRs, or customer service representatives, and dispatch. We'll have the whole gamut of people on these hiring events, and that's what I explain right off the bat, so people don't just jump off because they're intimidated.
Oh, I'm on the wrong call.
Yeah, not me. This is not for me. No,
you probably still have one every now and then. It's like, I don't care if this is a hiring event or not. I'm out of here.
Yeah, we've had it before because we did one where it was predominantly salespeople and outside sales, and then this one guy, like we were going through, everybody was like giving their background, their story, and it was a stellar, stacked group of people. Like they had experience in air conditioning, all this other stuff. They knew financing, knew all these things. Every question we asked, because we don't ask a lot of questions, we only ask 4 questions, but they had the answers instantly. And this one guy's like, yeah, I just can't hold, I can't hold a candle. Them guys are way better than me. I'm out. We're like, all right, cool. Well, we appreciate you self-selecting. Right. At the same time, I don't want that person could have been a gem in the rough.
I would think the opposite. I'm like, if they're going to hire 5 of us and somehow they accidentally circle my name on the list on accident, it's like I'm going to have 4 rock star salespeople beside me that are going to teach me how to close deals. That's what I would think. But I'm just like, that's a sponge. Anytime you can be a sponge and just like I was just telling the networking group we were on before this was our virtual networking call. All my sales acumen and sales flow and process and like how I walk people and the little things that I say to walk people through the process of closing the deal. It's like I just stole all that from everybody else. Like I just heard somebody else say it at some point, and I was like, I maybe can even say that better than they say it, And so you're all just a smorgasbord of other people that you learn until you kind of invent your own thing.
I 100% agree. And so with the hiring events, we had this one guy, and he came on as a service tech, and he said he had so much fun during the hiring event, and he could tell our culture was really awesome, that he doesn't care what the job is. He just wants the job with us. And so I was like, that's really cool, man. I really don't have anything for you right now, but you are definitely on my list. And as soon as a position opens, we'll bring you on as someone who's training training up to be a service tech or service expert. And so the culture is really good when you can have that whole stack of people who are just like, I don't care what position you put me in, just put me in a position. And that's our target. That's where we really want to go.
Sure. So one of those 10 commandments of sales is like believe in your product, believe in your company. It seems like your product is definitely not only your ability to fix problems on an HVAC, plumbing, electrical level. It also appears that you guys are just problem solvers in general. Connectors, people. The experience that people get when they're doing business with your company, when they're probably stressed out because something in their home isn't working, is a lot more positive than some people. Tell me this, and don't spill the whole can of beans for the service industry here. How are you getting to those people's doorstep? How especially in that Savannah area down there, that South Georgia area, it's a pretty, that it definitely takes up some space, but it's a pretty confined market. It isn't like there's a bunch of huge cities outside of where you are down there in Savannah. So how is it that they're calling your company to come out, first or second, or at least throw in their hat in the ring? How do you compete for that top of mind brand recognition?
Between Google, trying to stay on top in Google, social media, and then networking. Like you mentioned, you are doing, you have a virtual networking group. I am the now third year president of the Small Business Chamber of Savannah.
Oh, cool.
And on the board for Buy Local Savannah. And we've been my wife and I have been on the executive board for Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So we do a lot of networking, that type of stuff, and people see us out and about in the communities. But really, honestly, that's just your business owners. That's getting in front of other business owners, but not necessarily
your consumers,
homeowners. And so being on Google, getting a lot of Google reviews, 5-star reviews, as many as possible, that's a really big thing for us, having our guys, and we do a lot of guerrilla marketing too. Yard signs, we put out at least 100 yard signs a month, and the guys are putting out yard signs. You stop at a stop sign, they're putting out yard signs, and we do little competitions inside of our business for placement of yard signs and that type of stuff. So
we
really
should do that with stickers or something like that.
Yeah, we've done that too. We've done sticker competitions too, where you can get the craziest stickers. We had to tone that one back because we started getting phone calls from municipalities on that one.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we're always trying to just stay engaged with the audience, and we're on all the social media, channels. We have 4,000, depending on the what social media it is, followers connected to our business page, which is abnormal for our industry. Most people in our industry have like 150, 200 people that are connected with them on there.
Well, where are you guys going, man? It looks like you guys are scaling up, like the process, the scale, the way that you speak about your business, and just the tone, the way that you approach your business has such a there's so much reflection on the actual process and scalability of your business. Where are you guys going? Is this like a franchise gig for you? You're going to franchise it out and find some other people to kind of run some more locations, or?
Well, franchising probably not, but our target is to do 50 million with 10 different locations doing 5 million each. And we want to do that in the next 10 years. And one of the other things that's different about us is we're 100% remote also. So most AC companies, plumbing companies, they need a big warehouse. And I found that a lot of that's ego driven. You don't really need all that inventory, not to mention it's very expensive to carry all that inventory if you're just very deliberate with the way you do things. And so that's one of the things that from the get-go, I wanted to be remote, and I know that I can be remote up to 5 million in revenue. And so that's kind of where we're at. As long as I can stay remote, then we can morph into different service areas wherever we really like to be.
Sure. Tell me, I wanted to ask as well, I got a couple of questions here completely unrelated. I wanted to ask about your outfit as well. As that part of your strategy to kind of dress the way that, so you're very consistent. You live and die by the tie and the orange?
Every day, black and orange.
Okay.
Yep, it's either a black button-down shirt or a white button-down shirt, and I try to stay pretty consistent with the orange tie. Every now and then I'll change it up a little bit, but for the most part, I try to stay very consistent. And it is a buddy of mine, Jesse Cole. He owns the Savannah Bananas, and one of his things is he wears a yellow tuxedo. He's the guy in the yellow tux, and everywhere he goes, he's wearing a yellow tuxedo. And one of his things is that attention beats marketing 1,000%. And so when you think of an AC guy, when you think of a plumber, you don't think of a guy that wears a 3-piece suit. You think of someone, in a dark blue navy, outfit, maybe some Dickies and got like stains all over you and that type of thing. And so like all of our service guys, all of our guys on our team, they wear khaki pants and they'll wear a black polo shirt or a black button down shirt. And once they're on the job site, I allow them to take them off because it gets hot and black in Savannah during the summer. But our undershirts are all orange.
It's hot and black in Savannah in the winter.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it can be brutal, but it's one of those things that's our brand is black and orange. So once they get there and introduce themselves, then they can take that off, and their undershirts are all orange and they all say Service Emperor. They're all very consistent, but it's not the norm for our industry. And that's kind of the way that I wanted to bring that attention. And so with our wraps are very attention grabbing and everything like that on our vehicles. And so, yeah, but the suit and it's just not normal. And so that's the reason why we do it.
Sure. And then as far as I wanted to ask kind of about the traction of the podcast as well, what does that brand look like for the podcast? What's the name of the podcast?
The podcast is called Service Business Mastery. And it's one of those things where it kind of happened, like the traction kind of happened by mistake. We get typically about, 20,000 downloads depending on the month. It could really range during some months whenever the people who are listening, a lot of times they're guys in the vans. And if it's during the summer, our numbers drop drastically because they're just going nonstop. And the last thing they're thinking about is growth, trying to be really strategic in their growth process and stuff like that. So that's
most
when our
of them
numbers
in the summer are tired of growing.
Yeah. They're like, please stop calling me. But it is what it is. But yeah, we, the thing about it is we've just been plugging along. We unfortunately, I have a huge backlog of interviews because we interview 2 to 3 times every Wednesday and I release once every Wednesday. Right. So we have like 65 episodes that are just waiting to be released. And so, yeah.
Cool. Well, does that sound familiar, my friend? Yeah, we do too. But that's exciting, man. That's cool. It seems that you guys are really differentiating yourselves as far as the space that you're in. I look forward to being connected for you. I mean, I'm excited to see where you guys go, see if we can assist you guys in your business in any way as far as our network and continues to grow your way. Very interested in kind of seeing what the community that you guys have developed down there with the Small Business Council is as well. Like I said, I love that stuff. Like our motivation is our network. When COVID hit, we had such an outpouring of support for all of the networking efforts and all of these type of efforts that we were making to really highlight our clients and referral partners that, like that was the time business got fun.
Yeah.
Because all everyone wanted to tell you was, hey, this opportunity or this highlight or this made me feel this way or provided this much opportunity or money to my business. So that is exciting to me. That's super exciting. So however, as I continue to be more connected with people in Savannah, I'll definitely shoot them over to the resources over there with the Small Business Council. But I wanted to ask you kind of along with that, how can we help you? How can we up here in Atlanta help you guys with your brand, your podcast, your clients, whatever it is that you guys are looking for?
Honestly, this is super helpful in itself because it's just spreading the word, I guess. And anything that's, I don't know, something that we didn't know that it was coming or this is a trend that people are seeing. That's the biggest thing. And not really knowing. The uncertainty is fearful for small business owners. I mean, that you're like, oh man, I don't know if we're going to be allowed to do this next year, or especially with, the PPP loan, whenever it came out and you're like, yeah, it's free money. And now it's not free money. Now it's taxes. Right. And now it's like, well, I don't even know. It's like, whatever. But yeah, hearing that and sharing that kind of stuff and anything, merchant service related, like, that is something that business owners, like a lot of times. So we use one that's associated with our CRM, and it's because that's what our CRM has. It's integrated there. It's easy for us to use, but I don't know if it meets compliance. Like it's like a ignorance is bliss type scenario. And then once
What
you get
what CRM do you use?
a Service Titan.
Oh, cool. Yep, I'm very familiar.
Oh, okay.
I'm very
So
familiar.
yeah, with Service Titan, they have a CRM, and it's not they. I mean, it's not merchant service, but it's not theirs. But it's one that they've brought on, and it integrates into their system. And so it's very like if you use a different one, they make it kind of difficult. It is difficult
Sure.
to go into a different app and
I'll tell you the thought process behind that really quick from
Yeah.
a merchant services perspective is like, let's take your company here, right? Let's take Service Emperor. Let's take replace you with a different business owner that wants to do 100 franchise locations. Like your goal is I'm going to make locations as fast as possible. Well, Service Titan is going to charge you what per user per location, like I don't know, whatever that is. So as you do your 100 location, you're like, golly, I'm paying Service Titan like $50,000 a month. Like what is going on
yeah.
here? I'm literally paying them $50,000 a month. I'll tell you, with not Service Titan, they're very built out. The integrations, everything that they have going on has been ruling your industry for years. You can build something like that with invoicing, employee management, all the payments, everything integrated in there to run your business that you own for like $100,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like 2 months
2
worth
months.
of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you find somebody like me that says, instead of charging all your clients, all your 100 locations, 3% and the maximum that I can charge you for it because nobody can switch because they all have to use your software, we do right. Hey, we're going to save some money from them. We're going to take the money and we're going to split it with you. And we'll split it with you as the owner. We'll keep some because we service all your clients, and we'll make sure your people save some money. Yeah. So there's real value in integrated payments. We've done that probably a dozen times, and but people find us and they're like, I'm tired of paying $50,000 a month to these people. Like I don't want to pay $35,000 a month to my CRM anymore. I'm not doing it. What is another option? Like, hey, you can build your own. You can literally build your own and sell it to HVAC companies and build it as your own business. It's like there's so much value in the technology, but the real value is in the clients. You know what I mean? Like there's value only because there's so many people using. There's so much traffic. It's just like anything. It's like once eyes on it and feet are under it and users that aren't going anywhere or a piece of the software, it becomes super valuable. It's definitely one of those pieces to a merchant services company. You know what I mean? So that's really the value of integrated payments is you as a business gets to have everything in one house. We as the merchant services company get access to all your clients. You know that everything, you at least only have to sign into one website if you ever have any questions about anything. So it is pretty cool. And it's definitely something that more people that are locked into one space, you know what I mean? Is like it's not like you own an HVAC company and a restaurant and a dance studio.
Very true.
You know what I mean? Like you have very similar. Even though that would be awesome, it would be a way cooler interview. We would talk for hours. But it's really cool. Like if you have that one place where you're pretty narrowed down, everything kind of works the same way. It's like you don't have to find all these different CRMs, rely on these different pieces of technology. It's really cool that. It used to be one of those $1 million. Like if you want something like this, it's going to be $1 million in developers because you got to find a bunch of people that understand how to do it. Fortunately, and going through some of those resources you went through with Georgia Tech is like those people are becoming more frequent. That language
absolutely.
and the technology is improving so quickly that it isn't a $1 million idea to build anything out of technology anymore. So that's something that we're excited about is like technology is becoming more of a commodity. There's going to be a time where you don't have the ability to say, get away from me. I don't want, you can't switch. You have to use this person. You can't do this. You have to use this. It's like eventually there's going to be an ecosystem where everything talks to each other. Yeah. And it's going to be an exciting day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially
and that's
for your industry.
Oh yeah, 100%. And our industry is moving so fast at a rapid pace. For years, 20, 30 years, we were stuck in the Stone Ages. We were way back there. And now it's moving at a very fast pace. And like I couldn't have been remote 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I couldn't have been 100% paperless, 100% remote.
Right.
Just wouldn't have happened. And so now it's just the bright year for this to happen. And the same with financing. Before we were stuck with one finance company, and now it's there's other finance companies that are slowly chomping away, and they're like, okay, we can make this happen. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And you can
there.
present, and because you have that competition, you can present financing with people without it being 24% fixed rate interest. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, hey, if you have decent credit, you could probably get something decent for you. You know, it's becoming more of that space. But I appreciate you being here, man. I really do appreciate the time that you've given us and telling us kind of a little bit about your business and what your expertise is in. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys more, seeing if we can really bring some value to you guys, because I really think our businesses speak the same language.
I agree 100%. I'm honored to be on the show, and if there's anything that I can do, please don't hesitate to ask. If anybody has any questions about operating a business remotely, a service business, I'd love to help them out in any way I can.
That's my next question. How do they find you?
Servicebusinessmastery.com, serviceemperor.com. On any social media, I'm at Tersh Blissett. So
Cool. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this because we're at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
What made you pick orange? You're not a volunteer, are you?
No.
Are you a bulldog?
No, I'm not a bulldog.
Gator?
If anything, it would be Georgia Southern.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Go to a small local college. I mean, obviously, I'm a Tech fan, but Georgia Southern's where it's at, because it's just a bunch of good old boys, backwoods rednecks, and don't care.
Statesboro's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Statesboro. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you, man. I think we're going to wrap it up. If you got anything else to say, you want to give a little outro, feel free. But I think I've asked all my questions, man. You're awesome. Appreciate you.
Cool, man. Biggest thing that I want people to understand is they don't care how much you care. They don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's 100%. Like that's with our podcast, with your podcast. If you're just out there spouting out knowledge, like, yeah, whatever. But as soon as they realize that you're doing it for the right reasons, then they'll just like fly on honey.
For sure. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Man.
Burn the
Thank
ship.
you.
Cool.